Alright, I am back again in the Jefree Star not approved bedroom, which is my bedroom. Um, Again, the Jefree Star and Nathan breakup. This is a prime example why mental health is really important in relationships. And even before getting in relationships, your own mental health, your sense of self, who you are, which is sense of self, what your goals are, what your values are, what you will not put up with. You know, that's very important to recognize that, to be very firm in that and strong in that, because when you are in a relationship and something happens that you get that feeling that's not aligned with your goals or your values, that's when you kind of get triggered, that's when you feel uneasy. And a lot of times you're in relationships like the Jefree and Nathan one person suppresses them. Nathan does. You know, he didn't put his goals, like, he didn't want to be famous. So having to suppress everything to deal with that with Jefree and get put all over social media, in front of the world, in front of millions of people, had its toll on Nathan. Now, going into it a second time, maybe, or maybe not, we don't know. Check the last video. What happens next? You know, what happens now with the Jefree Star and Nathan breakup? But in all fairness, mental health, which Jefree has talked about in the last video, the breakup video, it's extremely important. And hindsight is always 20/20. You know what I mean? You have to know who you are, and that is how you navigate around who is going to be your tribe. You know whether to continue with a person or to cut them off. It'll be pretty simple if you're very in tune to who you are. And let's say you do something that's not in alignment with your goals, you know, what people do to become famous or go to Hollywood or put up with someone who's very toxic just because they want to get to point B. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The thing is, you have to be aware of what you're doing and making a conscious effort, and you obviously have to develop your own coping mechanisms to deal with said person. Setting forth your boundaries is important. However, sometimes you can't set forth boundaries. So what do you do? If you're aware of what's happening, it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier because you're not doing everything subconsciously and not knowing why you're getting all effed up. You know what I mean? It's like you realize, okay, this person, this is not lining up with who I am, but I want to get to point B, if that makes sense. But in a romantic relationship, it's you both want to be on a similar page in terms of growing together. You know what I mean? You don't have to be the same type of person. You don't have to have the same type of career or be in each other's lives 24/7. You know, you're not. Enmeshment is not ideal. Being joined at the hip is not ideal. But there has to be something that drives you together and allows you to grow. So before all that, you have to realize who you are. And sometimes it takes a major breakup for you to look inside yourself. The worst thing is someone to jump from one relationship to another without having to look at themselves. I've seen so many people like that, and you just want to ring them and say, and wake them up, and like, you gotta look at yourself. Stop looking for a boyfriend to validate who you are. Validate yourself internally, and then the boyfriend is icing on the cake. it's a companion. You share things together, but you are both whole people. One person is not completing the other person. That's dysfunctional. Sometimes it works, but not always. Not a lot of times. So, there you go.